You know how sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do, even if it's a little messy. Like, I totally lied about my back injury to skip patrol. And yeah, the guy who took my spot, he never came back. But honestly, what was I supposed to do? Go out there and actually do something, please? I'm Sarah, 27 years old. And frankly, I was just trying to survive out there. Afghanistan, right? Not exactly a spa day. And my back did kind of hurt. Not like herniated disc level pain, but enough that I knew if I complained enough, I could get out of something truly awful. So yeah, I told the doc my lower back was seizing up. I did the whole wince and grimace thing, maybe a little tear or two for good measure. He bought it, gave me some strong meds, put me on light duty. Best decision ever? Probably between us. I just wasn't feeling it that day. Like, the heat was already unbearable. And the thought of rucking through some dusty village, looking for trouble that was definitely going to find us, just sounded exhausting. I mean, everyone in our squad knew the routine. You had your good days, your bad days. Some days you felt like a hero, ready to take on the whole Taliban single-handedly. Other days, you just wanted to curl up in your bunk and pretend the world didn't exist. This was definitely a curl up in your bunk kind of day. My period had just started. My MRE was bland. And honestly, the general vibe of the phobia was just off. It was like everyone knew something bad was coming, and I just didn't want to be part of it. Call it intuition. Call it self-preservation. Whatever. I just knew. So, when Lieutenant Miller started laying out the patrol brief, I was already mentally checking out. Another sweep through the same damn sector, looking for IEDs that were never where we expected them, and probably getting shot at from some mud hut we couldn't even see. Been there, done that. Got the t-shirt, a really sweaty, dusty t-shirt. That's when I decided to pull the back thing. I waited until after the brief. When everyone was grabbing their gear, Miller was a pretty chill LT, always trying to be fair. So I walked up to him, kind of limping a little, putting on my best I'm in agony but trying to be tough face. LT, I said, my voice a little strained. My back's really acting up. I don't think I can carry my ruck today without, really messing myself up. He looked at me, a little confused. Your back? Private. Since when? Just started. Sir, I mumbled, trying to look appropriately pained. Woke up and it just seized. Probably from that last ruck march. You know how those 20-milers are. I gave a little cough, hoping he wouldn't press. I was actually pretty good at the ruck marches, but he didn't need to know that. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. All right. Private. Let me see what I can do. We're already short-handed. You report to the medic. Let him check it out. If he clears you, you're on the patrol. Yes. Sir, I said, trying to look grateful, but inside I was like, hell no. I'm not going on that patrol. The medic, Doc Evans, was a good guy. Easy to manipulate. He'd probably just give me some Motrin and tell me to suck it up if I was honest. But I wasn't going to be honest. I was going to be Sarah, the poor, injured soldier who just wanted to do her duty, but her body was failing her. So dramatic. I know, but it works. I went to the aid station, practically dragging my leg. Doing a really convincing hobble. Doc Evans was there, looking bored. What's up? Private, he asked, not even looking up from his tablet. My back, Docky. I whined, trying to make my voice sound shaky. It's killing me. Like, I can barely stand up straight. I think I pulled something real bad. He finally looked at me, then at my back, making me bend over a little. I groaned dramatically. He poked and prodded a bit, and I made sure to flinch at just the right spots. You gotta really commit to the bit. You know, feels a little tight. He said, sounding unconvinced. Did you lift anything heavy? Just my gear, Doc. I said, trying to sound innocent, but it just hit me, like a lightning bolt. I was hoping I could still go out with the squad, but LT said you had to clear me. He scribbled something on a pad. All right. I'll put you on light duty for 48 hours. No heavy lifting. No patrols. Just light camp duties. Take these for the pain. He handed me a blister pack of strong pain meds. Score. I knew he'd come through. It was practically a given. I walked out of the aid station, trying to maintain the limp until I was out of sight. Then I practically skipped back to my bunk. I mean, not literally. That would have been too obvious. But inside, I was doing a little victory dance. No patrol. Strong meds, and 2 days of chilling on the FOB. This was living. The guys were already getting ready when I got back. PFC Miller, not the LT, was there, putting on his vest. He was always so earnest, so eager to please. A real too nice guy. Always volunteering for extra shifts. Always the first one to offer help. He was the kind of guy who'd give you the shirt off his back, even if it meant he'd freeze to death. Annoying. Really, always making everyone else look bad. Hey, Sarah, you good to go? He asked, adjusting his helmet. Nah, man, I said, putting on a brave face. Doc put me on light duty? Back's messed up. He frowned. Oh, and that sucks. So who's taking your spot? I shrugged. Beats me. LT's probably figuring it out now. Someone's gotta go. I guess he just nodded, then looked around. Like he was scanning for the LT. I didn't think much of it. It was just another day. Another patrol? People got moved around all the time. This was just my lucky day. Right. I watched them leave a little while later. All geared up, heading out the gate in their dusty MR apps. Miller waved to me. I waved back, trying to look sympathetic. Inside, I was just relieved. I had my meds, my bunk, and a book I hadn't finished. Plus, I could probably snag some extra snacks from the mess hall since I wouldn't be out in the middle of nowhere. It was a win-win. That day was pretty chill. I caught up on some sleep, read my book, even managed to find some decent coffee. I was feeling pretty good about my decision. Like, who needs to be a hero when you can be comfortable? It just made sense. I even thought about posting something vague on Facebook about battling through the pain. But then I decided against it. Didn't want to make it too obvious. Plus, my mom would probably call, and she always made things dramatic. Later that evening, the mood on the fob shifted. It was subtle at first. Just a few hushed conversations. Then the radio started crackling more urgently. I heard snippets of chatter. QRF, IED strike. Dust off needed. My stomach tightened a little, but I pushed it down. It couldn't be our squad, right? Not my squad. I mean, I wasn't even there, so it couldn't really involve me directly. Then the siren started wailing. Loud. Piercing. Like a banshee. Everyone started rushing towards the gate. Their faces grim. I got up too, just to see what was happening. Not because I was worried. Mind you, just curious. That's when I saw the first truck roll back in. It was our lead vehicle, but it was battered, smoke rising from the side. And the gunner's turret was twisted, like it had been hit by a giant hammer. My breath hitched a little. This was bad, really bad. Soldiers were scrambling. Medics running with stretchers. I could see the chaos, hear the shouts. Someone was yelling for a medic, screaming, man down, multiple casualties. And then I saw it. The second truck, the one Miller had been in, it was worse. The front end was completely gone. Just a mangled mess of metal. My blood went cold. No, not cold. More like a weird tingle. Like when your foot falls asleep. This couldn't be happening. I saw the LTU, his face streaked with dirt and blood, stumbling out of the wreckage. He looked broken, and then I heard someone say it. Miller, he's gone. My heart did a weird flip. Not Private Miller. Not my Miller, the earnest, too nice Miller, the one who took my spot. I felt a weird lurch in my stomach. Not guilt. Not exactly, more like disbelief. This was just a crazy coincidence, right? It had nothing to do with me. I mean, I didn't make him take my spot. He just did. That's what he did. He volunteered. He was a people pleaser. His choice, not mine. The rest of the night was a blur. Medics were everywhere, and the air was thick with the smell of dust, blood, and something metallic and burnt. They brought in the injured and the dead. And yes, Miller was among them. Confirmed KI. I heard the whispers later. Through the grapevine, an AED hit the second truck directly. Apparently, Miller had been in the gunner's turret. He'd volunteered to take my position there, because I was usually the gunner for that patrol. My stomach twisted again. I tried to focus on the fact that he volunteered. He always volunteered. That was just who he was. The next few days were grim. There was a ramp ceremony. Of course. Everyone was there. Even me. Pretending to be heartbroken. I stood there, saluting, trying to look somber. But inside, I was just thinking, well, that was a close call. It could have been me. And then what? My mom would have been devastated. And all my stuff would have been sent home. No. This was better? For me? Anyway, other soldiers looked at me. Some with sympathy. Some with something else in their eyes that I couldn't quite place. Like they knew, but they couldn't possibly know. Right? I was a master of deception. My acting skills were top-notch. Lieutenant Miller, the real one, came up to me after the ceremony. His eyes were red-rimmed, and he looked like he hadn't slept in days. Private, he said, his voice rough. You okay? Yes, sir. I said, trying to sound choked up. Just can't believe it. Miller was a good guy. He nodded. then looked at me, really looked at me, like he was trying to see into my soul. He took your spot, didn't he? When you said your back was bad, my heart did a little flutter. Yes, sir. He was always so eager to help out. I tried to make it sound like it was his nature, not my fault. I tried to tell him not to, but he insisted. That was a total lie. But who was going to check? He just nodded again, a faraway look in his eyes. He didn't say anything else, just walked away. I exhaled slowly. He didn't suspect a thing. Or maybe he did, but he couldn't prove it. And really, what was he going to do? Report me for a back injury. Please. Life on the Phobie returned to a new kind of normal. A quieter normal. A normal where Miller's bunk was empty, and his name wasn't called during roll call. Everyone was a little more subdued. The patrols continued, but everyone was jumpier. Every time we left the wire, it felt like we were walking into a trap, and I was glad I wasn't out there. My back injury miraculously got better, of course. After a few days, I told Doc Evans I was feeling much better, ready to get back to full duty. He just nodded, probably used to people suddenly recovering when the light duty ran out. But things were different. The atmosphere in our squad was colder. I tried to be my usual self, cracking jokes, acting casual, but people started giving me the silent treatment. They'd turn their backs when I walked by. Conversations would stop when I entered a room. It was subtle, but it was there. Like a cold front had moved in and settled right over me. One day, I was grabbing food at the mess hall, and I overheard two guys from another squad talking. Did you hear about Private Sarah? One whispered, not even trying to be discreet. Apparently, she faked a back injury to get out of that patrol where Miller got hit. My ears burned. That's messed up, the other guy said. Seriously? What a piece of work. I wanted to march over there and confront them. Tell them they had no idea what they were talking about. But I didn't. What was the point? They were just gossiping. It was just rumors. People were always looking for someone to blame, right? And I was an easy target. A woman, in a man's world. Always. If I was a man, they wouldn't care. They'd probably be praising me for being smart enough to avoid a bullet. The silent treatment got worse. Even my bunkmate, Private Rodriguez, started acting weird. She'd been my friend. Or at least, a good enough acquaintance. We'd shared stories, traded MREs, even had a few laughs. But now, she barely spoke to me. She'd leave the room if I entered, or pretend to be asleep when I came back from duty. One evening, I tried to talk to her. Hey, Rod, what's up? You've been quiet lately. She turned away, not even looking at me. Nothing, Sarah, just tired. No, really? I pressed. Is something wrong? Are you mad at me? She finally turned around, her eyes hard. You really want to know what's wrong? Sarah? She said, her voice low and furious. Miller's gone, and everyone knows you faked your way out of that patrol. You think we're stupid? You think we don't see what you did? My jaw dropped. What? That's ridiculous. My back was really hurting. And anyway, he volunteered? He volunteered because you're a selfish piece of trash, she hissed, her voice rising. He trusted you. He took your spot, and now he's dead. How do you sleep at night? How dare you? I shouted, feeling a sudden surge of anger. You have no idea what you're talking about. My back was messed up, and it's not my fault he got killed. Things happen. This is a war zone. For crying out loud, she just shook her head, a look of pure disgust on her face. You make me sick. Sarah, just sick. And then she walked out, slamming the door behind her. Between us, I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her to go screw herself. Who was she to judge me? She wasn't the one whose back was hurting. She wasn't the one who had to deal with the constant pressure, the endless patrols. It wasn't my fault Miller was such a goddamn hero. That was his problem, not mine. I was just trying to survive. Always, things escalated from there. The cold front turned into a full-blown blizzard. Nobody talked to me. Nobody even looked at me. It was like I was invisible. But also, everyone was staring at me all the time. It was a weird, unsettling feeling. I tried to go about my normal routine, but every interaction was strained, awkward. I started spending more and more time alone, holed up in my bunk. I'd go to the mess hall at off-peak hours, just to avoid everyone. My work performance suffered, too. Not that I cared much. They gave me menial tasks, things I could do by myself, away from the squad, paperwork, cleaning, inventory. I basically became the FOB's glorified janitor. My LT, bless his heart, tried to talk to me a few times. He was always so earnest. Sarah. He'd say, "Is everything all right? You seem isolated." "I'm fine, sir." I'd reply, deadpan, just focusing on my duties. He'd sigh, obviously frustrated. but he wouldn't press. He was too nice to really confront me. Another too nice guy, just like Miller. And look where that got Miller. Then came the formal investigation. Not about Miller's death. That was pretty cut and dry. IED, enemy action. No. This was about conduct unbecoming a soldier. Someone, I don't know who, had formally reported me for faking my injury. Probably Rodriguez. That bitch. She always had it in for me. I was called in to see the company commander, Captain Davies. She was a no-nonsense type, always by the book. She looked at me across her desk, her expression unreadable. Private Sarah, she began, her voice flat. It has come to my attention that you may have fabricated a back injury to avoid a patrol on date of Miller's death. My heart hammered. Sir? No. Sir, I said, trying to sound indignant. My back was genuinely injured. I reported it to Doc Evans, and he put me on light duty. Doc Evans's report states he found no objective signs of injury. She countered, looking down at a file. He noted subjective pain and placed you on light duty as a precaution. Well, it was subjective because it was muscle pain. Sir, I argued, my voice rising. You can't see a muscle spasm on an x-ray. She just stared at me. Private Miller, who took your position on that patrol, was killed in action. Are you aware of the allegations that you faked your injury specifically to avoid that patrol, resulting in his death, sir? That's a ridiculous accusation, I said, my voice trembling now, not from fear, but from righteous indignation. I didn't cause his death. Things happen in combat, and it's not like I forced him to go. He volunteered. He was a volunteer. I emphasized the word, like it was my ultimate defense. He volunteered because you misrepresented your condition. Private, she said, her voice still calm, but with an underlying steel. And in the military, misrepresentation, especially to avoid duty, is a serious offense, especially when it has consequences. Consequences? That word hung in the air, heavy and suffocating, but I still didn't feel accountable. This wasn't my fault. It was a chain of events, a coincidence. His choice to volunteer. Everyone else's choices, not mine. The investigation dragged on. They brought in Doc Evans, who just reiterated what he'd written in his report. They brought in Lieutenant Miller, who looked at me with this haunted, disappointed expression. He just said I'd reported an injury. He'd sent me to the medic, and then Miller volunteered. He didn't outright accuse me, but his silence was deafening. My mental health started to unravel. I wasn't sleeping. I was constantly on edge, waiting for the other shoe to drop. But even then, I didn't blame myself. I blamed them. I blamed Rodriguez for snitching. I blamed the LT for not just letting me have my injury. I blamed Miller for being too nice and volunteering. I blamed the entire damn military for putting me in this situation in the first place. Finally, the verdict came down. It wasn't a court-martial, not directly. They called it an administrative separation board, which basically meant they were kicking me out. Not a dishonorable discharge, technically, but an other than honorable discharge, which, let me tell you, is basically the kiss of death for anyone trying to get a decent job, or any veteran benefits. I sat there, listening to Captain Davies read out the findings. Gross negligence of duty, conduct unbecoming, lack of integrity. Blah, blah, blah. It was all just a bunch of fancy words for, we don't like you, and we're blaming you for something that wasn't your fault. My mind raced. How could they do this to me, after all I'd given, all the sacrifices I'd made, the dusty conditions, the bad food, the constant danger? I had put my life on the line, and now they were just going to throw me out like trash. It wasn't fair. Nothing was fair. Do you have anything to say? Private Sarah? Captain Davies asked. Once she was done. Yes, sir, I said, my voice shaking with fury, not sadness. This is completely unjust. My back was genuinely hurting, and Private Miller chose to take my place. You can't blame me for someone else's choice. I was doing my best, and you all just made it worse. She just stared at me, her expression still unreadable. Your discharge papers will be processed within 72 hours. You'll be escorted to the flight line. I was flown back to the States, practically on the next available flight. No fanfare, no farewells, just a grim escort, a quick flight, and then I was back on American soil, with a stack of papers that basically branded me as damaged goods. I tried to get a job, any job, but every time I mentioned my military service, they asked about my discharge, and when I said other than honorable, their faces would change. They'd become guarded, suspicious. They wouldn't say it, but I knew what they were thinking. What did she do? I tried applying for veteran benefits, but that was a joke. With my discharge status, I was basically denied everything. No health care, no education benefits, nothing. It was like they wanted me to fail. They wanted me to suffer, all because of a little white lie that had, through no fault of my own, led to something tragic. My social life evaporated. I tried reaching out to some of my old military friends on Facebook, but they either ignored me or unfriended me. Rodriguez, of course, had blocked me. The Whispers, I knew, had followed me home. The military wives groups, the vet forums, it was all out there. My name, my story, twisted and distorted into something ugly. I was the selfish soldier who faked an injury and caused a man's death. It was a narrative I couldn't escape, no matter how much I tried to rationalize it. I even tried to date, but as soon as guys found out about my military past and the other than honorable discharge, they'd get weird, like I was some kind of pariah. One guy, who seemed really into me, actually said, "So, you basically got someone killed, right?" I almost threw my drink in his face. It was never my fault. Never. My parents, bless their hearts, tried to be supportive, but even they looked at me differently. My mom would say, "Oh, Sarah, if only you hadn't," and I'd cut her off. "Mom, it wasn't my fault. It was an accident." They just didn't get it. Nobody got it. I ended up living in a tiny, run-down apartment in Dallas, barely making ends meet with a string of low-wage jobs that didn't care about my past. I worked alone, cleaning offices or stocking shelves, just trying to avoid people. Because people just judged. They always judged. I see pictures on social media of my old squad mates. They're still friends, still getting together, laughing, living their lives. Some of them are promoting getting married, having kids. They're happy. They're successful. And I'm here, alone, with nothing but the bitterness and the constant knowledge that I was wronged. Sometimes, late at night, I think about Miller. I don't feel guilty. Not really. I just feel annoyed. Annoyed that he was so eager to volunteer. Annoyed that he had to be the one to die. Annoyed that his death became my problem. My permanent black mark. He was a good guy, sure. But he was also a fool. A naive, overeager fool. I don't regret what I did. I regret how it turned out. I regret that they made it seem like it was my fault. I regret that they ruined my life over something that was completely out of my control. I was doing my best, trying to look out for myself, just like anyone else would, and they punished me for it. They always punish you for trying to survive. So yeah, I lied about my back injury to skip patrol. The guy who took my spot never came back, and now my life is this, but I don't care anymore. Not about them, not about what they think. They can all go to hell. I'm still here. And I'm still blaming everyone else. Because it was never, ever my fault.